All are welcome to participate. Please save the date of Monday, October 21st, which is just 2 weeks from tomorrow, and join us here for a screening of Paris is Burning. This is a documentary that celebrates fall culture in New York City and LGBTQ people of color performance space that has been getting more attention lately with the popularity of the TV show Pose. We will be partnering with the Youth Empowerment Performance Project for this event to learn more about the ball scene in Chicago today. Please find other important announcements in your order of service. We have a special announcement this morning from the co-chairs of our fall fundraiser. Could they please come up?
Good morning, everyone. I am just one. I'm just one of the co-chairs. Greg Potts is downstairs getting ready for the children today. But just wanted to give everyone an announcement that we're starting ticket sales for our Fall Fest, our annual Fall Fest. It will be November 9th, 6 to 9. And starting today, I'll be out in the welcome table taking ticket orders if you'd like to get in early. It's a great event, and we're excited. A whole host of people working on getting it put together. Tickets are $35 ahead and $45 at the door. And the last thing is we are looking for items for the auction and the silent auction. So if you have a talent or connections that could get us to events or tickets or anything like that that can help us raise money for the church, that is something that we're looking for starting now. We have just a short 5 weeks between yesterday and the actual event. So if there's any questions or anything else you'd like to know, you'll be getting more information in the order of service as time goes on. And every weekend starting today, we'll be selling tickets at the welcome table. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I invite you to be present in this moment. Now is the time to put your phone on worship mode. Thank you.
We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share. Whether you just stepped into church for the first time or for the 1,000th time, you're welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you're welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money you do or do not have, you're welcome here. I invite you to take a breath in and out. And as the music begins, let us enter into our worship service together.
Our chalice lighter this morning is Bryant Heavy, and we light our chalice this morning with these words from Kimberly Tomczyk Carlson. It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggle, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship. Thank you. At this time, I invite you to rise and greet your neighbor, say hello to folks who are new to you, and say hello to longtime friends.
I'm trapped by my tripod. Yes, you look lovely. I'm dressed up. I'm trapped by my tripod.
Good morning.
Morning. I enjoyed reading the t-shirt. It's a good t-shirt. Oh, very fancy. It's nice when things stay in fashion long enough and don't get cool and be handed down. It's a perennial. I was telling your daughter how much I loved her solo, and I had the Moana song in my head. Days. The rest of the day. No, not the rest of the day. Like the rest of the week until the next Sunday. I love that song, and they did such a good job singing it. So it was lovely. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
No. No. Okay, there it goes. It wasn't on before.
Yes.
There it is.
Thank you. We had some things happen between the last. Anyway, we're going to sing Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And we're going to do it a cappella, and we're going to do a round. Typically, I don't talk about it first, but we are today. Please rise in body and in spirit. We're going to start with, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, we've broken our vows 1,000 times, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times. Very good. Now I'm going to ask only the tenors and basses to repeat that and not anything else. Ready? And though we've broken our vows. Yes! That's all you get to sing today, sorry. Keep singing it. Everyone else join me in a second. No, join me with something else. Here we come. Come, come, wherever you are.
to build a community
that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, holding faithful to a love that embraces both diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a vision of the eternal, living out our inner convictions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
We'll sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
You can be seated. At this moment, I want to invite forward the young in age or young at heart for Time for All Ages, led this morning by Alicia Obando, our Director of Faith Development.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness. That's something that we're going to be talking about throughout the service, and that's what the story is about. And the story is called Marmalade. All you kitty cat lovers out there that like the story. Whitman Jones had just turned 9. That was good, but he was going to a new school in a new town, and that was bad. In his old school, he knew everyone. They had been in classes with him for years. In this new school, he didn't know a single person. Not only that, the first day did not go very well. Whitman Jones, the teacher called out. Whitman? Why, that's an unusual name. You can call me Whit, Whitman said, hoping to be helpful. All right, Whit, I'll do that, thank you, said the teacher. His classmates made funny noises. There didn't seem to be any way to explain that Whitman was named after his grandfather. At recess, a very tall boy in Whitman's class came over to him. His name was Eric Smith. He was really tall and kind of chunky. He moved slowly and sometimes bumped into things. He had very red hair. Whitman had never seen such large freckles either. Eric said, "Whit, no, wait, what?" and laughed. Then he said, "Whit, whatever." He laughed again, and Whitman knew it was not a nice laugh. He looked down. "Hey, whatever, where'd you get those clothes?" And he pulled at his shirt, which was kind of scary. He plucked at his clothes. He said, "I bet you got them at Walmart." "Sure, whatever wears whatever from Walmart." He laughed again. Whitman didn't know what to do, but luckily the bell rang and recess was over. After that, he tried to avoid Eric. He didn't look at him. He didn't raise his hand if Eric raised his. Once in a while, Eric would shout, "Whatever," across the schoolyard at recess. One day as he was walking home, he saw a piece of paper on a telephone pole. It had a picture of something. When he got close, he saw it was a picture of a cat, and it said, "Lost Cat." The cat was orange and was called Marmalade, and it was anonymous. The paper made Whitman sad. He didn't want to lose a cat or a dog if he had And then he said, "See, I'll take you home and you'll be fine." Meow, said the cat. Whitman didn't know if anybody would be home, but he rang the bell. When the door opened, he had a real scare. It was Eric, the nasty boy from school who had made fun of him. Eric said, "Whatever, get off my porch." And then he saw the cat. "That's Marmalade," he almost shouted. Whitman held out the cat at arm's length. "Here, it's yours." Eric grabbed the cat and tucked him under his chin, and for a moment he closed his eyes and he rocked the cat in his arms. Then, as Whitman turned, ready to run in case Eric came after him, Eric said, "Wait a minute, let me tell my mom." "Mom," he yelled, "Marmalade is back. Somebody from school brought him. Can we have some cookies?" He hardly waited for the answer. "Come on, Whitman, it's cold out there." Still carrying the cat, he led Whitman to the kitchen. The cookies were still cooling from the oven and they smelled really good. "Want some milk?" he asked. Whitman nodded. "Sit," said Eric. He got a paper towel for each of them, and some cookies and some milk, and also a little bowl of milk for Marmalade. When they had eaten at least 2 cookies each, Eric said, "Thanks for bringing Marmalade back. She's never been outside and I guess she got lost." Then he said, "I was sick all last year. My grandma got Marmalade when she was just a kitten, and Marmalade used to lie on my chest and purr, and it really helped me feel better." That helped Whitman understand something about Eric, why he was so big and pudgy and awkward. And he said, "Wow, that must have been some year. Are you okay now?" "Yeah, I'm pretty okay now," said Eric. And then Eric looked down and said, "I'm sorry I made fun of your name." Whitman could see that Eric was really sorry. And so he said, "Whatever." And Eric looked at them as though he had gotten 2 gifts in one, his cat back and a new friend. And they both laughed at Whitman's joke. And then they ate more cookies, had more milk, and Marmalade had milk too, but no cookies.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for the story, Alicia. And at this time, we're going to sing out our children as they head off to their classes. And if everyone can find the words in your order of service. One of the great joys about community is the resources and abundance that we have. And here at Second Unitarian, we make sure that we share those resources with others well beyond these walls, as well as with those here. And so this month we will be sharing our collection with One North Side, and Karen Golder has a couple of words for us this morning about that.
Thank you. I'm Karen Golder, a member of the Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are she, hers. I'm also a volunteer with One North Side, or as we call it, One North Side. I'm a leader with One North Side because we all are. One North Side is a nonprofit community organizing group that works for justice in the city of Chicago and specifically in the state of Illinois in the United States, and specifically the neighborhoods from Rogers Park to Lincoln Park. There's information, I think, about it in the order of service. I'm just going to say that the reason that I am so active in One North Side and it means so much to me is because it gives me something that I can do with my fear and frustration and occasional despair about the state of the world. And so I thank everyone here. The congregation has been always very supportive of One North Side. We have a number of folks who are engaged with us. And thank you very much. And I hope if you have questions after the service about it, please see me and we can get you engaged in a physical way in addition to your financial support. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, our offertory will be taken, and I ask that you please give as generously as you can. I invite you to join me in reading the offertory response that's printed in your order of service. This church
is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Let's take a deep breath in and let it out. Relax into your chair. Be present into this moment. Be aware of your breath. We begin in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family and ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is the care for children, we are with you. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty. We are with you. We pray for all those living in harm's way. We pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. We pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. For those locked in concentration camps at the border, held in cages and inhumane conditions, for those in ICE detention centers right here in Chicago, we are with you, and we commit to doing more. We hold in our hearts this week our LGBTQ family who may have moments of aching as the Supreme Court decides whether or not to protect their rights. Regardless of the ruling, we pray for compassion and healing for those among us whose worth and dignity is being debated. Into this shared silence, I invite you now to speak the name of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of this community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so, and amen. At this time, we will invite folks forward to either side of the chancel to light candles of joy and celebration or sorrow and struggle. You're welcome to come forward. These candles mark the joys and celebrations, sorrows and struggles in your hearts. And the final candle was lit for all those that remain quiet within us.
Our first reading is an excerpt from Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. The writer Thomas Merton said, "We are bodies of broken bones." I guess I'd always known, but never fully considered that being broken is what makes us human. We all have our reasons. Sometimes we're fractured by choices we make. Sometimes we're shattered by things we would never have chosen. But our brokenness is also the source of our common humanity, the basis for our shared search for comfort, meaning, and healing. Our shared vulnerability and our imperfection nurtures and sustains our capacity for compassion. We have a choice. We can embrace our humanness, which means embracing our broken natures, and the compassion that remains our best hope for healing. Or we can deny our brokenness, forswear compassion, and as a result, deny our own humanity. I frequently had difficult conversations with clients who were struggling and despairing over their situations, over things they'd done or had been done to them that led them to painful moments. Whenever things got really bad and they were questioning the value of their lives, I would remind them that each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. I told them that if someone tells a lie, that person is not just a liar. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, you are not just a thief. Even if you kill someone, you are not just a killer. I told myself that evening what I had been telling my clients for years. I am more than broken. In fact, there is a strength, a power even, in understanding brokenness, because embracing our brokenness creates a need and desire for mercy. And you learn things that are hard to learn otherwise. You see things you can't see otherwise. You hear things can't otherwise hear. You begin to recognize the humanity that resides in each of us.
Please rise in body and or spirit and turn to hymn number 323 in the gray hymnal, Break Not the Circle.
Be seated. Thank you. Our next reading this morning is from Natalie Maxwell Fenimore. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, can we share our stories of pain and joy and memory and hope? Can we be beloved to one another? So often we are hurt and hurting when we get to the door. We need to forgive ourselves and each other in order to go forward into deeper relationship. Maybe some people cannot even get through the door until there is first an acknowledgement of the need to say a word of forgiveness. Forgiveness almost at first meeting. Our isolation from one another may be so great, our individual and ancestral pain so deep as to cry out for reconciliation from the start. And this reconciliation is something else that begins with listening. We must listen to our stories. To reconcile, we need to make peace with the past, not by ignoring it, but by looking at it clearly from many sides. And then move into renewed relationship. We must gain and grow from our knowledge of each other. We've all experienced times of pain, grief, and conflict that have separated us. We all need to be reconciled with something or someone. here in our faith, we can try to forgive when forgiveness is possible. Our hearts can grow to hold each other's pain and joy. Don't give up. Don't stop listening to one another. Thinking about music, I love the opening song that we sang this morning. I remember entering into worship spaces with youth in our faith when I was a teenager, hands clasped, creating a spiral and singing Rumi's words together. We would repeat the words until we were all seated, having created a spiral on the floor, knowing that we were connected, knowing that we were supposed to be together in that worshipful space that we were creating. Whoever we were, we knew we were welcome. We knew that we belonged. There was so much beauty in the hymn, so much wisdom from the Sufi mystic. That's why I'm not surprised that our UU hymn version of Rumi's words is missing the line that we started with this morning. We as UUs have a bit of a tradition of leaving things out at times, sometimes important things like that. The line in Rumi's poem that's missing that we sang is, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come. Even if you have broken your vows, even if you have failed at living up to our covenant, even if you are feeling not enough, come. Join us on this journey. Be with us in your atonement. You belong here. I can understand our UU hesitancy about the verse from Rumi. What vows is he talking about? We reflected a lot last month about creating expectations and where those expectations come from. When we are unclear about expectations or how the covenant was created or where the vows were made, it can be hard to feel accountable for breaking those vows. Yet living in community, being with others, we have made many commitments, promises, and vows to one another. And indeed, we break them. When we break from covenant, when we cause harm or fail to live up to our shared values, we have the responsibility to do the work of acknowledging what we have done and begin the work of repairing that relationship. This week is the conclusion of the Jewish high holidays with the sacred day of Yom Kippur. This is the Day of Atonement in the Jewish calendar. A time of taking account of what happened in the last year that one needs to ask forgiveness for. For those in the recovery community, this ritual is similar to a combining of steps 4 and 8, taking an inventory of one's own actions and beginning the work of preparing for amends. Yom Kippur is the day of confessing and committing to a new year of transformed action. I recently saw a meme on Facebook that I wonder if some of you also saw that said, I am no longer this year accepting apologies, just changed behavior. Given our discussion about atonement and forgiveness today, I feel some responsibility to make at least a brief comment about the hug given by Botham John's brother Brant to the white police officer who killed Botham John. It is not my place to celebrate or condemn the hug given by Brant to Amber Geiger. However, what I can and what we must say is that there has been nowhere near the necessary atonement for white supremacy or accountability for racist violence in our country. I know that we are far from the culture of healing that we need. Whatever meaning Brant John may have had for himself with the embrace and offering of grace, let us not confuse his personal healing with our collective responsibility for dismantling systems of white supremacy. You may not yet have heard that Friday night, Botham John's neighbor, Joshua Brown, who testified against Amber Geiger, had his life taken just 2 days after Amber Geiger was sentenced. We have so much work to do together. So much truth to speak about harms going on, so much to confess, so much to atone for. As a faith made up of many converts, I know that many Unitarian Universalists wrestle with some of the stories, rituals, and traditions that go with the calls for atonement and confession. One of the most shared stories during Yom Kippur is that of the one about the golden calf. In this story, the Israelites are off in the desert after having escaped slavery and crossing the Red Sea. They've been journeying together through the desert with their leaders, Moses, his brother Aaron, and sister Miriam. Their God has been communicating with Moses, and Moses has been sharing what he learns with the Israelites. In this communication, Moses makes clear that God has said not to create idols. No idols can be made of silver or gold. Many of the worshipers of Yahweh had created idols in the past as an act of reverence. And this was a new rule for them, no idols. And Moses went back up to the mountain to receive more guidance from God. The Israelites were left with Aaron for what seemed to them to be a long time. The people began to be afraid that Moses was never going to come back. They told Aaron to make an idol, a symbol of comfort and focus for them, to direct their prayers and to honor their God. Aaron collected the bits of gold jewelry that his people had been able to take with them and melted it all down to create the golden calf. For many worshipers of Yahweh, the bull was a symbol of their God. It's important to remember that at this time in the ancient story, there were a multitude of traditions practiced by people who were worshiping this same God named Yahweh. As the story continues, God was angry that the Israelites had defied the rules, broken the covenant, and created an idol. God told Moses that all those who had been freed from slavery were now going to be punished. Moses pleaded, atoning for the sin of breaking covenant, and convinced God to spare the Israelites. The story goes on, but the message is clear. When breaking the covenant, atonement is necessary. Maybe you think that demanding atonement for making an idol as an expression of devotion might be a bit severe, and that God's threat to kill the Israelites for the breaking of the covenant was maybe a bit extreme. I join you in that. There are many moments in the biblical text where stories involve violence or severity that seems disproportionate. In these moments, I wonder, though, what messages of truth might be underlying the text? As a faith tradition that has grown out of those who found much truth in these ancient words, how can we find lessons for ourselves? Rather than turn away from the power of confession and atonement, how might we turn towards some of these practices, even when healing from some of the spiritual harm we may have experienced on our own faith journeys? Even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come. So where do Bobby McFerrin's words fit in this practice of confessing, atoning, and recognizing that we belong to this community even when we make mistakes? Bobby McFerrin had been inspired by Meher Baba, a spiritual teacher from India who had popularized the slogan, "Don't worry, be happy." The words of advice were never intended to inspire apathy, but rather serve as an invitation to let go of the anxiety that has so much power to hold us back. In the verses of the songs, we hear about some real struggles and some silly ones. The song was popularized in 1988 during the end years of the Cold War, the early years of the AIDS epidemic, just as the first Bush was being elected president. There was plenty that people were concerned about. Great injustices going on and countless broken covenants. Even so, the call to be happy was a call to keep grounding oneself, keep finding joy, even when confronting that which is difficult. For us in our community here, there is no need to worry about whether or not there will be conflict. There will be. There's no need to worry about whether or not we're going to mess up. We will. Those of you who were just at the gathering of beloved conversations this weekend know that well. You had conversations about that. Those who were at first Unitarian talking about covenant, you too know that covenant breaking is part of community. Things will be hard, we will make mistakes, and yet we're called to be happy in knowing that we still belong. This happiness may not always look like big smiles and laughter. Sometimes it'll be a quiet happiness, an inner knowing that this space, our congregation, is a place where you belong. Even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come. Yet again, come. The Reverend Mark Morrison B. shared these words in our great hymnal. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Most days during the week, I ride my bike to church. My partner and I live in Rogers Park, so I get to take a beautiful ride past many murals in our neighborhood, and then pedal along the bike path, catching views of our lake and even a few of the skyscrapers downtown. As I turn onto Belmont from the bike path, there's a bridge I pass under. The Lakeshore Drive travels over that bridge, and under it is a mosaic mural made of vibrant colors and symbols. Imagine many of you have seen it. The mural itself was created in 2011 by artists here in our community, celebrating the vibrancy and diversity of the community with both abstract and everyday images. I think mosaic art such as this illustrates beautifully what Mark Morrison Reed was talking about. Those bonds that bind each to all. The jagged edges, the broken pieces, the little designs all come together on the surface. They share to create a collective image, to tell a collective story. This is exactly what religious community is like. Unitarian Universalists have used the imagery of mosaic to describe our faith numerous times. There's a UU church in Deltona, Florida called the Mosaic Congregation. From 2007 to 2009, the UUA funded an effort called the Mosaic Project, a ministry designed to assess and strive to meet the needs of youth and young adults of color within our denomination. Mosaic is considered one of the oldest forms of art that we continue to use today. As someone who knows very little about art, I won't give you much of a history of those centuries, but keep in mind that we can keep creating things that are beautiful. Can you see the ways that our faith community, that this congregation is like a mosaic? If you imagine yourself as a piece within our collective, what does your piece look like? Would it be smooth, rounded, shining? Maybe you'd have some sharp edges, some jagged pieces, some unbuffed areas. What color would your piece be? When placed on the surface to create our shared image, where would you be? Are you in the center? On one of the edges? In the art of to you, where do you find yourself? Once you find your own piece and know where you are in the image, what is the image you see of our congregation? What is the image you see of Unitarian Universalism? What pictures make up our mosaic mural? How do you see each piece fitting together, finding a place for all to belong? Just like the mural under the bridge on Belmont, each of our pieces need not make up only one image. We may not all be part of the sailboat or the flower. Some of us may make up the spirals in the sky or the abstract images on the beach. We need not be the same type of pieces or even create the same images to fit in the same story. Our sharp edges and rough parts can fit in just as beautifully as our shiny and smooth ones. When we are intentional about how we come together, when we figure out how each piece belongs, we can create something beautiful. Even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come. Brian Stevenson wants us to truly know that we are all more than the worst thing we have ever done in our lives. Having spent nearly 2 decades of my time working with people in our prison system, this is something I've learned over and over. And even though I have learned it alongside people I care about who have caused harm to others, I know that I can find myself still wrestling with my own guilt about things that I have done, times that I have broken covenant, and get wrapped up in that guilt and forget that I am more than any one moment in my life. I believe that this practice of atonement we are offered from the ritual of Yom Kippur can be part of the necessary process of healing. When I take account of my actions, when I reflect on their impact, when I listen to those who both call me out by naming the times I've fallen short and call me in by inviting me to reflect on how my actions have impacted my community, I can be part of healing, can be part of a healthy community. Today, after service, we will have our first congregational peace circle, a space for building trust and engaging in deep listening with one another. We will not be digging in too quick. We'll begin by focusing on trust building and reflecting on our shared covenant. It is important for each of us to understand that we belong here, that even when we fall short of our shared expectations, of our covenant, there are ways of coming back into healthy community. I invite you to participate this week in our circle, or come to the first Sunday of the month any other time as we begin this practice together. Even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come. Come. Let it be so, and amen. We are going to close with hymn number 1037. We begin again in love, which Amanda and I will lead with you, and you will find it in your teal hymnal.
Let's sing through one time while we're going to be singing. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, for each time we have struck out in anger without just cause. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, for the selfishness that sets us apart and alone. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit.
invite you to take hands with your neighbor or place your hands across your heart. Our hearts can grow to hold each other's pain and joy. Don't give up. Don't stop listening to each other. Go in peace.
Amen.
You snuck up on me.